for another half-loaded episode of Get a Load of This. From the Silver Creek Studios, I'm Jared.
I am Ryan.
And I'm Rick.
Rick is with us once
Rick's
again.
back.
And we're going to try to get into something that, I don't know, it irritated me and it got us all going. And before we even talked about it, we segued into all kinds of
20
things.
different rabbit holes on the way here.
We
but,
talked about so much stuff.
Yeah, we're here.
Before we hit the record button. But here we are. So, glad to have Rick back once again.
Yeah.
And the behind-the-scenes story is, it is July 16th.
Still.
The 50th anniversary of the lunar landing, which we've now talked about on 3 consecutive
Right. But it's a big
episodes.
deal. And I had a really cool NASA t-shirt I was going to wear tonight, but then I got sweaty and I had to change my shirt.
But we're drinking Budweiser Discovery Reserve, which is in honor of the lunar landing.
Which I question. They're all American red lagers, and Budweiser's come out with the Discovery Reserve, the Prohibition one. They've had a bunch of them. They do taste different,
really similar,
but they're real similar, right?
Yeah.
So you got to wonder. You wonder how much bullshit's there.
Yeah.
But yeah, one case equals $1 donation to Folds of Honor for a case of this beer. $15 million in scholarships for families of Americans veterans since 2011. That's good stuff. Anyway, so Budweiser, the next step for beer, Discovery Reserve American Red Lager, is brewed by brewmaster and Air Force Captain Carissa Norrington with toasted Voyager barley malt. Sounds like that just made up out of
Voyager
barley.
Yeah, whatever.
For a reddish color reminiscent of the next frontier, Mars.
The red planet.
This specialty lager has a light hoppy aroma, a toasted barley malt taste with a hint of toffee, and a sharp finish. I agree. I can taste the toffee and a sharp finish. To help military family members get the education they need to make their own discoveries, $1 for every case purchase will be donated to the Folds of Honor charity to fund college scholarships. Budweiser Discovery Reserve American Red Lager. 5% alcohol by volume.
They're not messing around.
No.
I think it's a good beer.
Does this kind of that pitch, does that make it attractive to you?
I mean,
I feel like I was just sold a used car.
Yeah.
Well, I agree.
Sure.
The pitch doesn't. I am a sucker for packaging.
It is an interesting packaging.
I like the
patriotic,
shiny.
Yeah.
You got the silver wings.
Yep. I like the stubby bottles too.
I was to say I like the stubby bottles too.
All of the reserves have been stubby bottles, right?
Yep.
You know, I often, did you ever have Red Stripe? Red Stripe, I think this is like a Red Stripe bottle, and I always enjoyed it then.
It's because it's a different bottle. So they used to have, and we've talked about this before, but they used to have, Anheuser-Busch sold Natural Light, Bud Light, and Busch, and Budweiser in they called it a flagship bottle, and it was a shorter bottle, like a stubby bottle, but it had a like a pointed top, like a pyramid top to it.
Okay.
And I believe they were called flagship bottles. You can Google them or whatever. And they were an enjoyable, they were easy to stack too. You could make a pyramid of beer bottles, which is hard to do with these bottles.
Yep.
Easier to do with the flagship bottles. And got some pictures from college to prove that. But no, I'm a sucker for packaging. When they came out with those, I'm jumping all over, and
yeah.
I
speaking of American,
I like the mountains
red lager
on the Coors Light bottle. I like the blue mountains.
Also American.
Yep.
We wanted to get into, or I brought up off the air a topic, and we just sort of ran with it and said, no, we got to stop and start recording this. So we did. I would consider myself, if I had to pick, I would say I'm a right-leaning conservative, a Republican. Again, if I had to pick one.
That's a hell of a segue. He's really good at that.
Not bad.
We went from American beer to him being a conservative to supporting.
Speaking of red, white, and
supporting
blue,
our president.
That's right. See,
America.
Now, at one point in my life, I would have considered myself a left-leaning Democrat.
How long ago? How long ago was that?
15, 20 years.
Really? That long ago? I would have thought it was sooner than that.
And in that time, what issues do you feel like you were sticking to? Were there issues that you wanted to support?
Yeah. So I think back then it was more, again, as a young 20-something, I felt more concerned with the social issues. So things like, equal treatment of homosexuals and just kind of overall rights of people to kind of live the way they want to live and watch the movies that they want to watch and not be guilted into
Who
things.
Who stopped people from watching movies?
The conservatives. The right wing doesn't want you watching porn and any movies that show tits and whatever, right? Like that's a whole thing.
I guess you're going back to like the that was actually Tipper Gore, who's a Democrat,
right,
saying that we should censor music and put the parental guidance.
Well,
stuff. Yeah. That was a Democrat, Tipper Gore.
Nancy Reagan was doing, as far as I'm concerned, but
she was just saying, "Don't fucking smoke crack."
Yeah.
I mean,
so now do you feel like those issues are well cared for? You can move on to something else now?
We're all sort of on the same page about being able to listen to or watch whatever you want to watch and whatever. I mean, there's still definitely a conservative movement to do away with a lot of that. But I felt like, I think that's pretty normal. Young people coming into their own want the freedoms to do what they want to do and say what they want to say and whatever. And that tends to be a very leftist type thing. But I always kind of sided with the fiscal policies of the right, generally, So I always said I see both sides. It just depends on the issue. So I don't ever consider myself I'm a Democrat, damn it, or I'm a Republican. It was always a little bit of one or the other. But as some of those social issues in my mind, like you said, Rick, kind of worked themselves out, I started concerning myself more with the conservative issues. But I'm still sort of in the middle on all that. That being said, I think the three of us here would consider ourselves conservatives.
I would.
I want to side with Trump for several of his policy issues. I agree with a lot of his policies. And I want to side with him because I feel like he's attacked on all sides by the left and unfairly. And it bothers me. And so I want to defend him because of that. But God damn it, does he make it hard? He just makes it so difficult to stand behind him.
Because I will call myself a fiscal conservative, and I think I'm conservative on a lot of social issues, but there's some social issues where I'm moderate, and I don't consider myself conservative. I don't agree with the hard right party line, stance on things, which kind of goes back to about 2 episodes ago where I was like, we need to break shit down. You don't. I would say that you consider yourself right leaning and far right.
You're pointing at Rick.
Not far right in the bad way, like the Proud Boys, the white supremacists marching with tiki torches and running people over.
Don't align with those ideas.
But more of the Christian conservative right, the base of Donald Trump, as many people would put it.
That's accurate.
And you would consider yourself kind of the same way, but except for not without the religious aspect of it.
Yes.
But for the most part, right down the line on the conservative side of things. I think that's fine, but I still think that if we were to go point by point, if we were to go issue by issue, that we would probably find a couple at least where you would say, you're probably right. You're probably right in the middle, and you probably agree with some Democrats on some of these things too.
Sure,
you probably agree with Joe Biden on some of these things. Maybe not busing. We talked about that, but that's all. Biden's a big name when it comes to the busing conversation.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, research that one.
All right.
We'll leave that for the folks out there to Google that. Joe Biden busing. Big topic, and it will be if he continues to be a presence in the political realm for this next cycle. So, anyway, so
Trump's making it hard.
Trump's making it hard. Yes.
So specifically, this is referring to the comments he made on Twitter regarding presumably the 3 women, possibly 4, who were attacking his immigration policies, and he kind of turned it around on them and said, "Do you want me to read it?"
Yeah.
This is off of Donald J. Trump's Twitter feed. So interesting to see, quote, progressive Democrat congresswomen who originally came from countries whose governments are a complete and total catastrophe, the worst, most corrupt and inept anywhere in the world, if they even have a functioning government at all, now loudly and viciously telling the people of the United States, the greatest and most powerful nation on earth, how our government is to be run. Why don't they go back and help fix the totally broken and crime-infested places from which they came? Then come back and show us how. Jesus, Donald, come on.
So he's an idiot because he thinks that these people came directly from these. 3 of them were born in the U.S. Now they're first generation American, or first generation born in the USA. 3 out of the 4. But that what's her name, Ilhan Omar, she was born in Somalia. She was a refugee. She came here from Somalia.
But she's lived here since she was a kid.
Sure, right.
She's a congresswoman.
So, and also the premise is that he's invoking this, go back to Africa racist thing, which was, not that long ago, 1960s, 70s, maybe even 80s, there was people, and that's a pretty fucking despicable thing to say to someone. Go back to Africa. You know, most of these people were A, born here, B, their ancestors were brought here against their will and treated shitty for a long fucking time. So to say that is kind of bullshit. Not kind of, it's very much bullshit.
Yeah.
So he needs to be, he just has no self-awareness. He needs someone to fucking check his Twitter. He needs to go through a filter. Like, okay, Donald, when you hit go, it's going to take one more hop. We're just going to have this guy check it over before we send it out. And it's that doesn't happen. I don't know why he can't see that. I don't know why they think that they should just allow him to keep shooting from the hip. It's fucking insanity.
Can I try to put a different spin on it? Definitely. All right. So you alluded to slavery references, and now there's talk about, you know, we want to do, what do they call it when they try to pay him money back? Reparations. Yeah, they're trying to bring reparations to people who aren't. I mean, they weren't slaves. Their parents weren't slaves. They're trying to. They're so far disconnected from it.
We only got to go back 3 generations to find slaves. Number one.
Okay. But they're. It's not. They weren't from Africa. Sure. They are clearly Americans.
Yes.
Because they're born here, and so. But in that regard, in that context, we're trying to say no. These are the people that came from here, that were brought here against their will, that were all this. But now we're saying, well, no, this person was born here. So we're picking and choosing which situation. We're just in this situation. It's convenient for us to say, oh, we're only interested in where this one generation was born. And in another situation, we're saying, well, we're interested in where 3 generations or 4 generations back where they were born.
Well, that's a very partisan thing. I mean, I see where you're coming from. Exactly. But I don't dispute everything you're saying. But what you're saying is that Democrats want to say this when it's comfortable for them. But and that's, I don't know. That's kind of it's not a sound argument, I don't think.
No?
I don't think so.
Think they're being consistent?
No, I don't think they're being consistent, but I also think it's politics, and that Republicans do the same thing when it's convenient for them. When it fits their narrative, they'll say X, Y, or Z, and to suit their own needs, their own motives.
It may be my bias, but I tend to I notice it more.
Oh yeah,
on when the left does.
No,
it.
I have anti-reparations too. Look, I have, and we all probably do. Maybe not you. I don't know what your upbringing or your background.
Maybe not.
Are you Irish?
Maybe not that guy.
No,
do you have any Irish in you?
I'm not Irish.
Yeah, see, you probably have Irish.
Maybe a little. I have a little.
I definitely
Irish.
have Irish.
Yeah, myself as well. So I'm like a quarter Irish, and so the Irish, a lot of them were brought here as indentured servants, and were not treated very well, and were called, a lot of bad names, and so were Italians. I'm also a quarter Italian. So they were called wops and dagos, and
he didn't just say. He said, "I'm also quarter Italian."
I didn't say it that way, did I? Maybe I did. All right, fuck you.
It's like the second accent we've seen tonight.
Yeah. So I'm a quarter Italian. I'm a quarter Irish. I'm a quarter German, and I'm what else? The fuck am I? I don't know. English, some other shit. It's a bunch of other. I'm a fucking hodgepodge, right? So.
As many of us are.
Reparations because of my Irish or Italian? I mean, Italian, they weren't slaves, but they were treated like shit. They were called dagos and wops, and they were treated like garbage. And Irish the same way. They were treated like trash by the English settlers and the Germans. So where do we draw the line? Is it because, well, no, you're white and you weren't a slave, but, well, there was the servitude, and, no. I think nobody is. I didn't own slaves. As far as I can tell, my ancestors didn't. I'm on Ancestry.com. I've researched things. As far as I can tell, we were poor. We didn't own anything all a long way back. So why should I be responsible for that? It's a very slippery issue.
I agree, but I feel like we've gotten away from
you heard.
Yeah, I feel like we've gotten away from the topic, which was
Trump's
where
racism.
Trump is, and it's not just. I mean, it is racism.
You brought up reparations.
I did. I'll take responsibility for that.
Of him seeing someone who is of a different skin color and a name that in some people's mind would indicate their nationality or their origin or whatever, right? And assuming that they're from another country. Now, even if they aren't, I believe in this case, the 3 women that were being referred to, their parents were, I believe, from those other countries.
Sure.
Like they're,
That's
she's
not what he said, though.
They're first generation, right? But I mean, you could argue you're from because your parents are from there. I mean, I feel like one generation removed is still kind of from a certain area. I could see that argument at least, but
do you think he means for us to take this comment this seriously?
Well,
could he just be trolling?
I think he's trolling.
Both. The answer to yes is both.
You think he's trolling and he wants to take us seriously?
He wants people to make this a conversation. He wants people to talk about this. Is it right or wrong? What he said, is it right or wrong? Now, could he have said it more eloquently? I think 100% of people with a brain cell are going to say yes. He could have said it more eloquently.
Well,
is he wrong? A lot of people on the left will say, absolutely, he's wrong. You can't tell these people to go back to where they came from. And a lot of people on the right are going to be like, that's not exactly what he was saying. What he's saying is like, if you're going to criticize this country that has accepted you and your family as their own, and you are now a naturalized citizen, and we've given you the opportunity to be a leader in this in this country, and we've given you this point of pride and this high status. And you're going to still sit there and talk about this place like it's a shithole and there's a fucking problem with it. Fuck you. That's what he's saying. Fuck you if you don't like it.
Yeah.
Which is wrong. He can say it more eloquently. What he should be saying is like, look, I know you don't like me. I really don't give a fuck you don't like me. I don't like you either. Your principles I disagree with. I don't think that you should be in any spot in any position of leadership. I think that everything that comes out of your mouth should be checked and based against your home, where your family came from, where you could be living if the United States had not given refuge to Somalians 30 years ago. If you weren't given, if your parents where's Ocasio-Cortez from Puerto Rico or something like that?
I wanted to say Puerto Rico, but I'm
not she wasn't a refugee. They just came here, right? So she's a natural citizen. She was born in the USA. But what he's trying to say is like, look, if you think this is so shitty, I mean, Puerto Rico is a United States territory, number one. But go live there and see how it is. He is doing the best that he can. And that's what's missed, and that's what he doesn't even get the chance to say those things.
But his message should have been.
I don't feel like I articulated that word.
Yeah, maybe not. If you don't, you need to think about our immigration policies and how you came here, your parents came here, your family came here legally through the right processes, and you went to school and your family contributed and paid taxes, and now you're a congressperson who is contributing to our nation, and that's how it should be done. And instead you are fighting for people to be let in by droves without documentation, to be given money and benefits and things essentially illegal. That's what he needs to point out, is the difference in the way they did it and how they turned out for the good, and the different in what those people are asking for. But instead he says, go back to where you're from and fix it there first.
I think he wants it to be this confrontational. I think, because he could easily articulate it nice and clearly, and he could have, even if he couldn't, he could have somebody do it.
I have to think that, but I can't help but think that it's something strategic about it. It's a choice to go at it with this.
Well, it is confrontational, though, on the other side, right? I mean, the other side is being very confrontational. So I feel like it's almost a defensive.
Wouldn't you think it'd be easy? Do you think that Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Ilhan Omar or Ocasio-Cortez, do you think that they're that obtuse that they don't see the difference between illegally trying to enter the country and legally attempting to enter the country? So my point is,
I might think that they do.
They don't see the difference. They're that,
or that they don't think there should be a difference. Like, who cares how you got here?
The fact that you don't want to find a port of entry and claim asylum at that port of entry, and instead you're going to try to cross the border over a river and a fence, and that's the same thing. The point that I think most, if not all, conservatives are saying is like, I don't have a problem if someone wants to come to a port of entry and claim asylum. That's fine. that's completely acceptable. That's the way it's supposed to be done. If you are really claiming asylum from a country that is
right,
run by a dictator.
The reason I think that they don't care about the difference is that I think what do you call it when a state is open to whatever they're a something state.
No, sanctuary
state.
Yeah.
And then there are sanctuary schools, right?
And cities.
Yeah. So universities a lot are sanctuary schools. So in that, there's so many people that think,
open borders.
We don't care how you got here. You have a right to a good education. We don't care, blah, 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 blah.
So
you get to be here just like anybody else. So that tells me
why would they want that? Why would you be pro letting anybody, open borders, letting anybody and everybody into this country? If you have, your eyes are open and you can see the financial status of this country and know that, our services are tapped, our resources are not infinite, right? They're limited. But yet you can look at that. They know that because they don't want to give money for this and that and the other because there's a budget, right? So they know that our resources are not infinite, but yet they want to allow anybody and everybody to enter this country and give them carte blanche, give them everything. How can you reconcile, if you're a Democrat, how can you reconcile, a liberal, say that makes sense, and be honest with
the whole humanitarian thing. Everybody deserves
but you're not
a good life.
But you're not being intellectually honest, and that's my point. Is that if anybody were to, if people were honest, honestly, the same would go the other way. I'm sure that there's liberal arguments that they could say like, hey, look, conservative, if you're going to say that, then you got to say that, right? And they would win that argument too. It's just the facts. It's if you're reasonable and you present the facts, you're like, look, we only have this much money. We only have this much space. We can't allow everybody in. There's rules in place for a reason. The existing laws say you must come through a port of entry. You must apply for asylum. You must, these are the steps to becoming a citizen, to be allowed entry into the U.S.
That those steps aren't practical for everyone. Some people are so desperate. They just need to get in the country. They don't have time to wait on all those processes and everything. And I mean, I'm just devil's advocate here.
Well, there's a lot of countries that they can go to.
Yeah. So what I heard most recently today was that they were trying to change it so that you can only claim asylum here if you've, if you have tried to claim asylum in any other country you've gone through. So you can't just traverse through Mexico to claim asylum in the United States. You got to try to claim asylum there.
Right.
You can't just.
I think Trump's tactics about putting taxes on Mexican products, it's brilliant stuff. I mean, it's really good. I mean, people hate it, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's using the muscle that he has to influence these governments to make them make changes. And yes, it could potentially backfire and hurt our economy. But I think he's confident enough that they're gonna break before we do. And eventually the economy is gonna have a flutter. It's gonna have a little hiccup, but it'll recover and it'll be fine in the long run. So there's so many things that he does that are brilliant, and then he opens his mouth, and it's so fucking stupid. And I've been saying it since he was running. It's like, God damn it, man! If you just shut the hell up, we'd be in much better shape. But I think a lot of it is because he opens his mouth.
I was to say, I'm not sure, because sometimes it seems like he's just getting his voters excited.
Yeah, but also I think he is exciting some bad people too. I think that a lot of things that the Democrats say about, well, you're inciting violence and you're riling up that violent far right, those Proud Boys, the white supremacists. You're riling up that base, which he doesn't identify. I don't think he claims them as his base, but they are. I mean, they're part of it. Whether he likes it or not, they like him.
They've chosen a side, for sure.
And so they listen to him. And so he can say that he doesn't accept them or he denounces them. Doesn't matter. When he says something like what he did on Twitter, that fucking gets them all juiced up. And now they're going to, bad shit's going to happen. And that's the sad thing about it is that we've become so violent. And we've become so, maybe we've always been that way. And it's just now it's becomes 24 news cycle. That it's right there in front of us all the time. That the young man, Andy No, he was on Rogan recently. He's a journalist. He's a Vietnamese homosexual journalist. And he was beaten, had brain injuries.
Oh, yeah.
Because
a couple weeks ago.
In Portland. A couple weeks ago in Portland, Oregon, by Antifa. And the guy really did nothing wrong. He's actually like center right. You know, he's a journalist, and he's written some stories that are reasonable things, you know, but because he has not completely towed the line of Antifa and the far left, they consider him a racist,
the enemy,
homophobic, right-wing, the enemy. He's Vietnamese and gay, but yet they will call him, and they have called him, a racist, homophobic. You know, it's like these people calling Ben Shapiro a Nazi.
Right.
He's a Jew.
Right.
And he's one of the most targeted people in the country, you know? It's insanity. And yeah, I don't know where I was going with that, but it's very frustrating. And I can't even, this is probably why we shouldn't go down these paths, because there's so much to unpack there. If we get back to the Trump thing and whether or not what he's saying is right or wrong,
well, Rick,
should he be allowed to be unadulterated
do you
on
find
Twitter?
It difficult to back him to anybody, to your family or to anybody else who questions you, or you're like, nope, I'm on board with all that. I'm willing to deal with whatever bullshit he spews?
To me, there's
or do you not
it's
find
not
it to
like
be bullshit?
it's not like I have a choice between him and someone that's closer to my values.
Right.
When it's time for me to vote for a president, I'm gonna do what I can to get the candidate who's most closely aligns with my values. I can find plenty of discrepancies between what I think Trump values and what I value.
But he's still the closest.
But he's way closer than anything the Democrats are offering.
Or
I think that's part of the problem is so many people want to say it's all or nothing. Like, if you voted for him, or even if you didn't, but you now side with some of his policies, then you agree with everything Trump says, and you would grab someone by the pussy too, you know, or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's like
there's tons of examples of things that I find appalling, and yet there's more
but
that
no
I
one
find
wants to
worse
allow you
from
that.
the Democrats.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
It's not. I don't even have to think about it. It's clear to me that's where. The things that I'm disappointed, because I'd rather have it's not, I don't know if I'll ever see it in my lifetime. I want somebody who's in favor of less regulation, smaller government. That's where my
a lot of them claim
lies.
to be. I mean, Reagan claimed to be. Bush has claimed to be, but they weren't. That was lies.
Right.
I mean, they were still big government. Both of them, both the Bushes and Reagan.
Well, I feel like there's the big political way of saying less government, and it's really just like minute changes in like, well, we're gonna let the communications companies handle this or that or whatever, and then there's like actual less government, which is like almost nothing, or states' rights across the board, and even then it's going to be like community level stuff. Yeah, we're going to get the fuck out of all this shit except for a few key things. No, that's never going to happen. So
I find it hard to believe that it could happen. Yes, I think I agree with you. But yeah, that is what I'm talking about, though. When I say I want smaller government, let's try to come up with some agencies that can just disappear.
Well, that was one of the things that Trump promised, that he was gonna shut down non-essential agencies. Coming from a guy who spent about 2 hours in the DMV today in the state of Illinois. I mean, you want to talk about just gross inefficiency, just disgusting inefficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So does the state run them, or do they contract them out?
The Secretary of State runs them, I think. I don't think
as far as I know, yeah.
In Missouri, they're contracted out.
But
they're contracted to people who align with whoever the governor is.
Well, okay. I don't know all the politics behind it, but I can just tell you that the last 3 or 4 interactions I've had at a DMV have been pretty smooth.
Yeah?
I've been pretty pleased. You go there so rarely. I think I might have renewed my driver's license once and got a couple of license plates or something.
Yeah. I know you had, I think, a bad experience today.
Yeah, well, it wasn't terrible. The lady was nice.
I remember going, many years ago, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and it was an awful, awful experience. Mean, rude employees, long lines, confusing tactics. All this stuff was just like, this is a nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like now the last several times I've gone has been really easy and pleasant people.
The people are not pleasant. So the lady that waited on us, she was fine. She was pleasant. She was nice. But there was 5 of them there. I'd say 3 out of the 5 were just miserable individuals. I said to Chuck, I was like, they say it takes more muscles to frown than to smile. These people are fucking working out like motherfuckers. I mean, they are flexing on us. I mean, because they're just pissed. Just the look on their face is just such fucking hatred. I hate you. I hate being here. Fuck this place. It's like, Jesus Christ, find a new job, for crying out loud. So I told Chuck a story. When I first moved over here, I'm going to say this lady's name because I can't stand her, but she's a politician, a local politician. Her name's Sandy Sauget. So she's named after a town. Her last name is the name of a town near East St. Louis, which is a complete fucking shit show. It's where all the strip clubs are. It's where a lot of industry
chemical plants.
Is the town not named after her family?
I think so.
Yes.
I don't know if she's of the Saugets, but
I believe so.
Okay.
But so her name's Sandy Sauget, and she worked at the DMV for a very long time, as far as I know. And so when I first moved here, I went in there, had to get plates for a car or whatever, and encountered this woman, and she was a fucking miserable bitch. I got the job done, but she was a completely unpleasant person. Didn't recognize the fact that I'm a customer. You're providing a service here. But they know that we're captive.
What are you going to do?
Yeah, what else are we going to do?
Who are you going to go to? There's no competition.
So I made it through this. I got my shit done, get on my way. That same night, I went to a fish fry at the VFW.
She was there.
Here in town. She was not only there, she was bartending. I walked up to the bar to get a beer. She's like, "Hey, honey, how you?" Sweet as fucking pie. Sweet as fucking molasses. Because now there's tips involved. And now she's a completely fucking different person. So come, 8 years later, she's running for city clerk. She ran twice, I think. She won once, she lost once. I never voted for her either time. Because she's fucking fake. She's not a real person. You don't know who the hell she is. Is she the miserable bitch that works at the DMV? Or is she the fake sweet as pie bitch that works at the VFW?
Maybe.
Did you know
just
her?
Maybe some people come into the DMV calling her a miserable bitch.
No, I came
acting like a jerk, and that's what makes her pissy.
Did they have name tags with their first and last name? How did you know who it was?
I knew after overtime.
Okay.
Over time. I didn't know at the time who she was.
And maybe when she's just serving alcohol to people, she's in a better mood.
She, I think, was because she had worked in the city organization for so long and worked at the DMV, and she'd become known.
Okay.
I think, look, if you got the right last name in this little German town, you can run for office and win all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
Do amazing things. I was
the
mayor of our
impression
town is an exterminator. He's actually my exterminator. Does a good job, But he's just a guy, But he's got the right last name because his dad.
The Sauget family, I think, has some money.
How many of them are left, I don't know. But
I just remember that there was
there
was a house that was a really fancy looking house
Sure.
off the end of the runway where I used to fly off of. That was like the Sauget house. It was like crappy house. Like this McMansion.
Yeah. Well, the way I look at it is like, look at that town that bears their name. That's the image I'll put on that. I wouldn't trust them with anything. That's government running shit. That's kind of getting full circle to what our point was. Is like when you allow things like that to happen, that's what happens.
Lower quality.
Yeah, you're not going to get a high quality product whenever you let the government run roughshod over you. Have a monopoly over things.
Need a free market.
Well, I think so. But that might hurt you guys.
Says
that's okay.
The guy who was just bragging about the NASA space program last episode.
I think. Well, I also, if you recall, if you had listened, I also said that the stuff that Richard Branson and Elon Musk are doing is even more exciting. And I think that if you allow the free markets to take over, God knows what we'll see. We'd see it a lot quicker, probably a lot cheaper. And I think the same goes for the test being Missouri has contractors. That's what we're getting at with the DMV. They allow contractors to come into this. I had a story about the DMV on Telegraph Road. I'll make it short. My wife went in there.
You believe that?
Didn't have all the paperwork. she had babies with her. This is a long time ago. She had babies with her. They make her wait. Obviously, everybody has to wait. You pull your number, you wait, right? She gets up to the counter, and they say, well, you don't have, I think it was a tax document. You didn't have your tax receipt. And she's like, oh, man, all right, I've been waiting for an hour and a half. They're like, oh, sorry, we can't do anything for you. You got to go home, get your tax receipt. So she goes home, takes the babies. I go get the tax receipt. I come back. There's a fucking sign on the wall that says, we can get your tax receipt faxed for $1. Pay us $1. We'll call this number.
Man.
So I go in there. I see this sign. She didn't see it. She was distracted with the babies. And now the lady behind the counter's got her own baby tugging on her skirt. Mommy, can we go? Yeah, mommy. Working at the fucking DMV. And I see this fucking sign, and I'm like, hey, my wife sat in here for an hour and a half, waited, goes through all this, and that's the only thing she's missing with text. You couldn't inform her of that? She goes, it's not my job to inform her of what options are available to her. Just be a fucking bitch.
It kind of is your job to inform her.
And I lost my shit. I think I paid, I got everything, got done or whatever, and I was walking out. I was so pissed about this lady who was just dismissive and just a miserable person. And, of course, had this child. It's like, is this a daycare? What are we doing here? I'm not allowed to take my kids to fucking work. Why is she allowed to take her kids to work? And if so, find a room for these little fuckers. They shouldn't be yanking on her fucking skirt while she's sitting there doing her job. So as I'm walking out, those paddles you have to push on a door to unlock them?
Yeah.
So I hit this fucking paddle on my way out with all my might because I was pissed. And the door swung open and swung freely and slammed against nothing broke. And I get in my car, and I immediately called the DMV to talk to the manager because they wouldn't let me talk to the manager. The manager's in the back, in the man behind the curtain or whatever, woman behind the curtain. So I call, and I said, I need to speak to the manager. They get this person on the phone, and I said, hi. I said, my name is blah, blah, blah. They said, I know who you are. You're the one that just walked out of here and almost broke our door again. I said, what do you mean, broke your door again? She goes, that door's been broken 7 or 8 times because of people like you. I'm like, well, maybe it's not people like us. If you have that many people leaving your establishment that upset, maybe it's you. Maybe you're the problem. It didn't go well. I don't remember how the conversation ended, but I was much more angry back then. But and I moved out of that state, and now I wish I was back there. I would deal with that every day of the week over the DMV here in Illinois. The inefficiencies that exist there, and there's a lot of cameras too. It's like you would think that Jesse White, the Secretary of State, would be like, or someone in his office would be like, hey, let's take a look in on Waterloo. See how things are going down there. See how they're clipping through some customers. Oh shit, there's a room full of people there, and there's only one person at the counter. Where the fuck is everybody? Oh, there's some lady in there. There was a lady in there writing on we called her calendar girl because she was in there writing shit on the calendar in her office. There's 50 people sitting in chairs out there. 3 people at the counter, 2 people out driving tests, and this lady's just in her office writing shit on the counter. I'm like, I guess she's the manager. In most businesses, you would step up and come out and chip in and try to knock out.
It's a peak time. Maybe
you come out and you do a little work,
right?
And not just put down when you're eating Burger King next on your fucking calendar. Yeah, I lost my shit on that. I lost my shit on a lot of things today at the DMV. It was not a good day.
Man, we can't imagine why they didn't let your son actually get his license.
We were very quiet about it, but and the lady that waited on us was very nice. But
what time of the day was it, by the way?
What do you mean?
What time of the day?
2 o'clock. I think we got there at 2:30.
Okay. On a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like it'd be a peak
I asked her what time. When's a good time to come?
Yeah.
She's like, well, it used to be Thursdays, but now there is no good day. And I'm like, so snowstorm, rainy day. She's like, yeah, those are good. I'm like, all right, good to know. Fair enough.
I know. We went with my daughter first thing in the morning and I think it was they closed on Mondays, right? So I think it was she was supposed to go on a Monday, but we went on when they opened Tuesday, and there was 2 people.
Yeah,
are they open on a weekend or something?
Saturdays, I think, but they're open 8 to 11 or something like that.
Yeah, we went first thing in the morning. There was one person in front of us.
And they'll shut down too. So if they close at 6, let's say, or 5, whatever it is, if they have a line, they'll say at 4 o'clock, like, nobody else. We're not taking any more numbers. We got a full. But this is going to take us through for the next 2 hours.
Oh,
so they'll shut it. They'll shut down. Like, yeah, we're not taking it.
Well,
no more numbers.
I guess it's better than making you wait and then saying sorry.
I
go home.
Yeah, but what they should be able to make it through, these people. My idea was that if Jesse White, if you're listening, this is a great idea. If you were to incentivize these people and say, like, you know what, we're going to pay you your salary, whatever your hourly wage is. We're going to give
commission.
Yeah. For every license you renew, for every driver's license you renew, you get $1.50. For every license plate renewal, you get like $2.50.
See if you can upsell them. Give them the heavier pound
plates.
Right.
And they're doing that too. They're like, oh, do you want the real ID driver's license? Yeah. All you need to give us your passport. That gets you $5, extra, whatever it is. And give them an incentive to fucking clip through some of these people and get them out of the damn joint, And, everybody wins there, I wouldn't be upset with paying an extra, for a driver's license, paying an extra $1.50. If it gets them to fucking work, get off their ass, everything's so slow and methodical. Nothing's urgent. They just saunter up and down the aisles. And it's ridiculous.
Did Illinois redesign their license plates recently?
Did they?
Year or two?
Yeah, now you've got Lincoln's face off to the side, and it's almost, from far away, it doesn't look like a face. It just looks like dirt.
I've had my truck plates for a long time. Like the paint's wearing off them. Like you're almost white.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Mine were that way.
In Missouri, I don't know about Illinois, but in Missouri, I looked into if it's actually illegal to have people ride in the back of your truck.
Oh, okay.
And it's almost never illegal, surprisingly.
Really?
Yeah. One of the I was just thinking about it because of license plates. One of the things that makes an exception is if you have 12,000 pound plates instead of 6,000 pound plates.
Interesting.
Which is just, you pay a few dollars more, or however much more.
Well, it's how much you can haul or tow, right?
Yeah, it has to do with what's the maximum capacity of like your whole vehicle, including any trailer weight or whatever.
Right.
So if you read the restriction, it's prohibited to ride in the back of the truck unless you have 12,000 pound plates, or unless all your seatbelts are already occupied, or unless you're doing agricultural work, or unless you're not on a state highway, or like all of these things where it's not illegal. And that's one of them. So like automatically, because I have 12,000 pound plates, you can ride in the back of the truck anywhere.
Why are you looking into that?
I'm just because I'm that kind of guy that just looks
throws his kids in the back.
Yeah. Well, so growing up, when I was a little kid, I would go spend a week every summer with my uncle in Jackson, Missouri, near Cape Girardeau, and down in the Boot Heel, and we would go to town regularly while I was down there. Maybe it was a week or two, whatever, however long my parents allowed me. We'd go fishing every day. Every day we'd find a different pond, and we'd go fishing for catfish and bluegill and crappie, and hopefully not snapper turtles. And but he would let me ride in the back of the truck all the time. But if we went to town, he made me sit in a lawn chair in the back of the truck because that was somehow safer. It was absolutely more unsafe.
Yeah,
it was going the wrong direction. But it made sense to me at the time. I was 9 or 8, whatever, and it seemed to make him happier. And the police never messed with us as we were driving through town. Me sitting in a fucking shitty lawn chair in the back of a old Chevy pickup truck, and that was. But I think that they wouldn't have messed with me if I was sitting on the wheel well. I think that they would have had no issues either way. But
well, we've gone well over our promised half-hour time limit.
No, there's a lot of garbage at the beginning of that.
Yeah, well, I don't know if there's that much, but
there's a lot.
Yeah. But it was a good time.
Yeah.
Let us know how you feel about immigration and Trump's tweeting and riding in the back of a truck and the DMV.
Yeah. I don't feel like I presented my points very well on this one, so I apologize if I offended anybody.
It's kind of ranting.
I mean, well, later on, but when it comes to immigration and things like that, I think it's a tough one. I mean,
it is.
We are all immigrants, and I mean, almost all of us, unless you have some Native American in you, which I don't know if any of us do. But yeah, it's tough.
It's a complicated issue. It's not as simple as either side needs to or tries to make
Trump
it.
Could have said that to any of us, and so like, all right, hey, Ryan, go back to Ireland, go back to Italy, go back to Scotland, or Germany or whatever. See how things are over there.
Yeah.
Okay. Italy doesn't sound bad. I don't know.
Anyway,
it's a pretty stupid statement to say to Ocasio-Cortez because I believe she's from fucking Puerto Rico. It's like, dude, that's a U.S. territory, you dumbass. That's a stupid statement.
I find it hard to take any of it seriously. It doesn't ruffle my feathers at all.
Well, like I said, it only ruffles my feathers in that what could have been turned into a good way for, the Republican Party or the right conservatives to kind of win a battle over these people who are attacking. Instead, it just turns into fuel for the left. It's just, here's just yet another reason we need to get this guy out of office.
But I also think a lot of people are turning a deaf ear to that. because they're just tired of hearing it.
Right.
They're just like,
definitely people are tired of it. But.
Because you don't have the filter is broken. The filter for what is real, true outrage, what should I be outraged about, is that's broken. Nobody knows anymore what you should really be outraged about. So the layman, the casual political mind just tunes everything out because they're just tired of trying to figure out what they should be outraged about. Because if it was up to the powers that be, the Ocasio-Cortezes and the Ilhan Omars, well, fucking outrage is constant. Outrage is 100% of the time. And people got jobs. They don't have time to be outraged that much, you know? So, yeah, it's interesting times.
Well, once again, we want to thank Rick for coming out, driving down, and being with us in the studio here.
They leave him alone. Leave his belt alone.
You know,
I don't know what else you could.
All right.
There's plenty of other ammunition he could. No. Rick and I have a good time battling back and forth about things at work. We agree on more than we disagree. So I appreciate all the banter and the arguing.
Happy to have a worthy
debating
argument.
Yeah. It's always fun. So if anybody else wants to join us, feel free to get a hold of the show and let us know that you'd like to come on. We're actually going to have another guest next week, and we're going to discuss more interesting topics. Probably get a little heated. I know he disagrees with us on some things. So
it'll be interesting where we go on that. I don't think we're going to go this controversial.
No, it'll be more
relaxed. But he is he's not like us.
Yeah, but he's a good guy. Another good guy who is a listener. And a
like
fan.
You.
So
he's not like me. Maybe he's a little, more like you than he is
what
like
the hell
me.
Does that mean?
Well, I don't know. It'll be good. It'll be fun.
So, all right. Well, as usual.
He may create some music for us, maybe?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I hope so.
If you pay the right amount.
I mean, he's he's a talented guy, and I enjoy his Instagram feed and watching him make music. He is a very interesting fella. So, anyway, enough of that.
All right.
Oh, yeah, if you want to let us know how you feel, because
how can they do that?
They could let us know on social media at Load This Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. LoadThisPodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to send us an email telling us that you want to be a guest and tell us about what you want to talk about or what you want to hear us talk about. Tell us that we're assholes. Tell us anything.
But we appreciate, we had, after a long hiatus, we had many, many, many downloads of our first few episodes of season 3. So
it was
very cool.
Kind of crazy.
It was crazy.
I mean, we were setting records for us as we closed out season 2, and I had no idea. I would have never imagined that we would have picked up after a couple months hiatus. With the same numbers, with similar, better numbers.
I fully expected to take a huge hit, a big drop off. And we actually had our second highest day on our first episode. And on the Half Loaded, we had the highest.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. Yeah. We appreciate all you listeners and subscribers.
I don't know who the hell you are, but thank you for listening. Apparently a lot of people in California. We hope we didn't piss you off too much this time around.
We'll see after this one if our listenership cuts in half.
Yeah.
But no, thanks again. So as usual, I'm Jared.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Rick.
And this is Half Loaded. I was curious.
Well, what were you raised? You were just Christian? What religion? Christian Scientist?
When I was much younger, I would say, so we went to what I guess we always called a non-denominational church.
Mm-hmm.
So
like a Hope.
Literally, there's no denomination, but it was like, it was a big, huge church. It was very much like dancing in the aisles and speaking in tongues and all that stuff, right?
Really?
I mean, that was church to me as a little kid.
And you witnessed people speaking in tongues?
Oh, yeah.
And
I spoke in tongues.
What? Why did you?
That's fascinating to me.
Hold on. Yeah. Why did you? It's a whole thing.
Right. It's a whole thing.
So why did you? Were you compelled by the Spirit of God?
No, that's part of it. For one, you were taught how to speak in tongues. And they kind of...
What did you say?
It's gibberish. But you're emulating other people. You're like, oh, that's how they're doing it. That's how I should probably do it. And it was like kids this tall in a giant auditorium with a handful of adults showing them how to speak in tongues, and then like you would try to do it, and they would, it was like a cult. It was very much cult.
What is the point of it, though? Is it to convince yourself, in your own mind that the Spirit of Christ is coming through you in these speaking in other languages?
It's supposed to be that there's no wrong way to do it. It's whatever God, compels you to do, right? That's speaking in tongues. God is speaking through you. You're communicating with God, and there's no like you have to use this syllable or that syllable. Well, I'm just saying.
I mean, that's a pretty radical.
Oh, totally. But I mean, it's also biblical, I think.
And do your parents still follow the same?
No, my mom. I mean, if you pushed her, she would probably say she does, still believe all that stuff and speaks in tongues sometimes, not very often.
And if you were to ever ask her, I know you probably haven't and you probably won't, but if you were to ask her, like, why do you speak in tongues? What compels you to do that?
Well, like I said, for one, it's biblical, and it's supposed to be like when it happens, for whatever reason. If you have this bond, this communication with God at the moment, it comes out, whatever comes out. That's speaking in tongues. This
is part of the teaching about this, since there's an education, a training part of it, is part of it that you're to interpret a meaning?
No. It's supposed to just be like you are one with God. You are communicating with God.
Is this distinct from prayer?
English.
It
could be.
Is prayer also taught that you can have a meaningful communication with God?
Though what I had seen many, many times is while people are praying passionately to God, they just break out in speaking in tongues. It's creepy and weird, but I mean, it's supposed to be biblical, right? This isn't something that was made up by a bunch of weirdos. It's in the Bible, but the interpretation of it and the act of it might be weird. Maybe not how it was done at whatever time. But yeah, so that's the kind of church I grew up in as a little kid. But at some point, so my grandparents on my mom's side are Southern Baptist, right? That very straight-laced, typical Southern Baptist. Yeah. Like I said, my dad's side was Catholic. But by the time I was born, my dad was not Catholic, not practicing Catholic. So I don't know if there was some rebellion thing in there or whatever, but we always went to these non-denominational churches, but also mixed in Baptist because that was on my mom's side. And then by the time like we moved to Waterloo, we kind of like were church hunting. Like we tried the Presbyterian church. We tried not many others. We went to some other towns, but eventually settled on the Baptist church. But even at the Baptist church, it was always like my parents, especially my mom, were like, well, we believe most of what they believe, but not in the same like straight-laced, tight-lipped, singing hymns kind of thing. They were more like raise your hands to God and all that stuff and, whatever, which was the more kind of non-denominational thing.
I had no idea that shit was going on out there. I'm like, that's fucked up.
I mean, it isn't if you think it's sincere and legit.
But how can you? Because you
think it's sincere?
And okay. All right, Jared, listen to me. You know that you were basically full of shit every time you spoke in tongues.
Oh, yeah, I was, for sure. Because you were just trying to
do you believe that other people aren't full of shit?
I think they believe it's not a lie.
Is there such a thing as a fake it till you make it type of thing?
I don't know. I think that it's a fake it just to, I'm supposed to do this, so...
I really do think
the fuck they do. I don't know.
There are people who believe very sincerely all of what's going on now, and I think that can make you do things that you think is really happening, but you're really just kind of making it happen. Especially the whole speaking in tongues thing.
Yeah,
nobody's speaking through you. You won't. There's no. Well, okay, I don't mean to cause any offense here, but yeah, it's in your head, that connection.
I don't think you're going to offend a Catholic because he's probably thinking the shit's whacked.
It does strike me as very strange.
Right.
But I was going to say one of the most awkward, bizarre, strange things was the first time as a kid I walked into a Catholic church and was just out of my element completely. I didn't know what to do.
Oh, really?
Didn't know what this thing on the floor is.
Yeah.
And when they did it and when you don't. And I was like, oh, wait. And people are responding to the priest. And I was like, what? I'm completely out of my element. Coming from a bizarre dancing in the aisles kind of church, I was just like, What is going on?